Hey, I'm Dr. Susanna Bozzoni, and can I just tell you, my mind has been blown. I graduated with a swimming scholarship almost 25 years ago. My niece just graduated this year on a soccer scholarship from college. And in this last almost 25 years, still no one in the training world for collegiate level athletes is talking about how we need to adapt our training based on our menstrual cycle. And I'm sorry if you don't want to talk about this, but this is really big, and this affects a minimum of 50% of the population, as well as the coaches, as well as the people that you're training with. Everybody needs to know this. So I want to give you just an overview of the menstrual cycle. Whether you're a man or a female, you need to know this and recognize how you want to start thinking about going with the flow rather than trying to fight against it and trying to make everything the same when it is indeed fluctuating. And if we are aware of those fluctuations, we can then begin adapting our lifestyle so that we can optimize and thrive and be the best version of ourselves. And you know I'm all about that. So in the menstrual cycle, we're going to go on the 28-day cycle. Does anyone have a 28-day cycle? Many people do not. There's a large variation in that, but the reason we talk about that is because it's the easiest for us to understand. 4 weeks, boom, simple. All right, so break it into 2 different sections, right? In the middle is ovulation, where you release the egg, but day 1 is the first day you bleed. I'm going to say that again. Day 1 is the first day you bleed. I hear so many women that think day 1 is the last day they bleed, but that's not true. Day 1 is the first day you bleed. Then if you ovulate on day 14, halfway through your cycle, then that is the first half of your cycle, and that's low hormone phase. All right, we're building up a little bit of estrogen there, but overall that's deemed your low hormone phase. It's the closest you get to a man, basically, in terms of those of that time of your cycle. And that's where our training recommendations have generally come from, a male population. So that's where we want to put more intensity in our training, more of that powerlifting, more intensity. We have better recovery during those times. We generally feel more energetic and we can go harder in those first 2 weeks of our cycle in a 28-day cycle. The second half is the high hormone phase. That's where after ovulation, where the egg pops out, right? Then you have this corpus luteum, and that corpus luteum produces progesterone, and that progesterone then increases in the second half of your cycle. Right? So what happens then in the high or the second half of your cycle, day maybe 14 to 28 on a 28-day cycle, in your high hormone cycle, is that some of us don't feel so good, right? And the way that we need to train, the way that we feel, the way that we might want to work, we might want to be more introverted in that time, for example. We might certainly want to tone down our training a little bit because we have a higher risk for injury in the second half of our cycle. The way we use our fluids, we might have more bloating and feel just a little bit more groggy and less energetic, certainly the week leading up to bleeding again. So in that week leading up to bleeding again, we want to recognize increase your iron-rich foods, beans and grains, right? We want to increase our magnesium-rich foods and zinc as well. Those are really helpful as we gear up for the next time that we bleed. And that's where we might want to do a little bit more tech work, a little bit more yoga, or keep it a little bit more chill. Still moving is really important. You don't want to totally give up and say, well, I'm not exercising because I have a higher risk of injury, but you just want to be aware that that's not where you're going to do your really heavy power intense training. So I hope that helps to give an awareness of that, and there's so much more to learn around that we're only beginning to understand now, but really find power. Go with the flow rather than fight against it. I hope this is helpful for you. Thank you so much for your time. Subscribe at Dr. Sue's Bee and have a fantastic and inspired and empowered day.